The First Contact. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of New Hawaii Station, watching the peculiar alien ship docked in Bay 94. It had been exactly 3 standard Earth months since Thrax Th Tar made his historic first peaceful contact with humanity, and things had changed dramatically since then. "Ma'am," Lieutenant Rodriguez's voice crackled through her neural interface. "The Galactic Cultural Exchange Committee is ready for your inspection." Sarah smiled, remembering how this all started. After Thrax's brave, or foolish, attempt at communication, humanity had carefully begun selective interactions with the galaxy's more peaceful civilizations. The phase shift technology that had protected them for so long now served as a perfect screening tool. Only those truly interested in peaceful contact could be brought across. The massive station, originally designed as a military outpost, had been transformed into something entirely different. Holiday decorations lined the corridors, a mix of traditional Earth Christmas ornaments and curious alien attempts at festive contributions. A massive holographic Christmas tree, nearly 100 meters tall, floated in the central atrium, its lights shifting through patterns that represented the combined cultural heritage of both humanity and their new alien friends. "I'll be right there," Sarah responded, straightening her dress uniform. The gold and blue fabric, trimmed with red and green for the season, reflected the station's ambient lighting. As she walked through the corridors, she passed several Saranai merchants setting up their stalls for the first interstellar Christmas market. Their crystalline bodies sparkled as they carefully arranged their wares, exotic spices that changed color based on emotion, living jewelry that sang lullabies, and quantum-locked memory crystals that played back moments from across the galaxy. The sound of children's laughter drew her attention to a nearby classroom. Through the transparent walls, she could see human children teaching a group of young Xinthari how to make paper snowflakes. The floating, jellyfish-like aliens used their bioluminescent tentacles to create intricate patterns, while human instructors explained the significance of winter traditions. Sarah reached the main conference room just as Ambassador Thrax was finishing his presentation. The once nervous merchant had grown into his role as the primary liaison between humanity and the galactic community. His iridescent scales had taken on a reddish tint, an attempt to match the Christmas theme, Sarah realized with amusement. "Ah, Captain Chen." Thrax's translator conveyed his excitement. "I was just explaining to the committee about your Earth tradition of Secret Santa. The concept of anonymous gift-giving has particularly intrigued the hive mind of Pthal. They've never encountered the idea of surprise presents before." The Pthal representative, a swarm of tiny insectoid creatures forming a roughly humanoid shape, buzzed with interest. Sarah had learned to recognize their collective expressions over the past months, and this one definitely showed enthusiasm. "The true gift," Sarah addressed the assembly, "isn't just in the presents we exchange, but in the bridges we're building. 3 months ago, we were literally in different dimensions. Now, look at us." She gestured to the gathered representatives, the crystalline Saranai, the bioluminescent Xinthari, the collective Pthal, and dozens of other species that had passed the stringent requirements for cross-dimensional contact. Each had demonstrated not just peaceful intentions, but a genuine desire to understand and connect with humanity. "Speaking of gifts," Thrax interjected, his scales shifting to a deeper red, "we've received word from the Qatari archives. They've agreed to share their temporal mathematics research in exchange for access to Earth's historical records about holiday celebrations across different cultures." This was significant news. The Qatari were known for their reclusive nature and advanced scientific knowledge. Their interest in human traditions could open up entirely new avenues of cultural and scientific exchange. As the meeting progressed, Sarah's thoughts drifted to the upcoming celebrations. The station would host the first interstellar Christmas festival, combining traditions from Earth with cultural elements from their new alien allies. The Pthal were creating living light sculptures that responded to holiday music, while the Xinthari had developed a way to make their bioluminescence mimic the patterns of falling snow. But not everything was proceeding smoothly. Reports had reached her of increased activity from the more hostile empires. The Kataskan Imperium, in particular, had been moving forces closer to the dimensional boundary, apparently frustrated by their continued inability to penetrate humanity's phase shift defenses. "Captain," her neural interface interrupted her thoughts. "We're detecting unusual energy signatures from the Kataskan border. They appear to be attempting another phase shift breach." Sarah excused herself from the meeting, though not before noticing the worried ripple that passed through Thrax's scales. In the command center, holographic displays showed the situation unfolding. The Kataskans had developed a new type of phase shift technology, but like all previous attempts, it was useless against humanity's superior dimensional control. What made this attempt different was its timing. The Kataskans had chosen Christmas Eve for their latest show of force, a calculated insult to the human celebration they'd learned about through intelligence channels. "Let them waste their energy," Sarah commanded. "But increase power to the dimensional barriers around all celebration zones. We've worked too hard for this peace to let them disrupt it." As she watched the Kataskan ships futilely trying to breach their dimension, Sarah couldn't help but smile. The very technology that had once isolated humanity now allowed them to choose their friends carefully, creating a unique community of species genuinely interested in peaceful coexistence. The first day of the Interstellar Christmas Festival was approaching, and with it, the promise of new traditions, new friendships, and perhaps, new understandings. The galaxy was vast and often hostile, but in this pocket of spacetime that humanity had carved out for itself, something remarkable was growing. In her quarters that evening, Sarah reviewed the festival security protocols one last time before allowing herself to relax. On her desk sat a small gift from Thrax, a crystal that supposedly captured the essence of his first experience with Earth's snow. Next to it was a collection of drawings from the Humans in Theory Cultural Exchange class, showing Christmas trees with tentacles and Santa Claus with multiple sets of compound eyes. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but for now, Sarah was content knowing that humanity's decision to selectively open its doors had led to something unprecedented, a celebration of peace and unity that transcended dimensional boundaries. The station's artificial day cycle began to dim, simulating Earth's evening, and through her window, Sarah could see the lights of alien ships moving through their designated flight paths. Each one represented a choice, the choice to seek understanding rather than conquest, to embrace difference rather than fear it. As she prepared for sleep, her neural interface pinged one last time. It was a message from Thrax: "Captain, the Saranai Council has approved our proposal. We're ready to begin Project Aurora tomorrow. Merry Christmas, as you humans say." Sarah smiled. Project Aurora would be humanity's greatest gift to their new allies, a way to share their phase shift technology with trusted friends, creating a true multi-species community spanning multiple dimensions. But that was tomorrow's challenge. For now, the peaceful glow of Christmas lights and the distant songs of alien children learning Earth carols were enough. The first part of humanity's greatest diplomatic experiment was working. Tomorrow would bring the next chapter, but tonight, in this pocket of space they'd made their own, peace on Earth, and beyond, seemed more than just a holiday wish. Project Aurora. Dr. Kai Patel stood before the quantum core of Project Aurora, its crystalline structure pulsing with colors that shouldn't exist in normal spacetime. The massive chamber, hidden beneath New Hawaii Station's public levels, represented humanity's greatest technological achievement since the original phase shift breakthrough. "Core synchronization at 87% and rising," announced Dr. Elena Volkov, her holographic interface dancing with complex equations. "The Saranai crystals are integrating perfectly with our quantum matrix." Kai nodded, watching as the alien crystalline technology merged with human innovation. Project Aurora wasn't just about sharing phase shift technology, it was about creating something entirely new. A way for trusted species to maintain their own sovereign dimensional spaces while still allowing controlled interaction. Message from the surface, his neural interface chimed. The Zintheri delegation has arrived with their contribution. The chamber's massive doors parted to reveal Ambassador Lyra, her bioluminescent tentacles creating patterns of excited anticipation. Behind her, several Xynthari engineers guided a floating container that seemed to bend light around itself. "We bring the heart of the void," Lyra's translator conveyed. "Our people's greatest scientific achievement, a quantum stabilizer capable of maintaining dimensional boundaries across vast distances." Kai remembered when the Xynthari had first learned about Project Aurora. Unlike some species who saw the phase shift technology as merely a defensive tool, they had immediately grasped its potential for creating new forms of peaceful coexistence. Above them, the station's Christmas celebrations were in full swing. The first interstellar Christmas market had opened that morning, and the sounds of multiple species attempting to sing "Silent Night" in harmony occasionally filtered down through the station's structure. "Dr. Patel," Captain Chen's voice came through his neural interface. "The Kataskan fleet is making another attempt. But this time, something's different." Kai quickly pulled up the sensor data. The Kataskans weren't trying to break through the phase barrier, they were attempting to track the quantum signatures of the various species moving between dimensions. If they succeeded, they could potentially follow friendly vessels back to their home dimensions. "We need to accelerate the timeline," Kai decided. "Lyra, how quickly can your team integrate the heart?" The Xynthari ambassador's tentacles rippled with determination. "Hours, not days. But Dr. Patel, there's something you should know about the heart. It's not just a stabilizer. It's alive." This revelation sent murmurs through the human scientific team. Living technology wasn't unknown in the galaxy, but combining it with phase shift mechanics was unprecedented. "The heart," Lyra continued, "was grown from the consciousness of 1,000 volunteers in Xynthari. It doesn't just maintain dimensional boundaries, it understands them. Feels them. And it's been waiting for something like Project Aurora for millennia." As if in response to her words, the quantum core's pulses synchronized with the bioluminescent patterns of the Xynthari present. The heart of the void, still in its container, began to emit a soft harmony that reminded Kai of Earth's whale songs. "Incoming transmission," Elena announced. "The Pthal hive mind is requesting emergency transport. They're under attack." The situation was escalating faster than anyone had anticipated. The Kataskans, frustrated by their inability to breach human space, had apparently decided to target humanity's new allies in their home dimensions. "Captain," Kai called through his neural interface, "we need to make a decision. The system isn't fully tested, but we could attempt an emergency activation to protect our allies." Sarah's response was immediate. "Do it. We didn't come this far to watch our friends fall to the Kataskans on Christmas Eve." The next hours were a blur of activity. The heart of the void was carefully integrated into Project Aurora's core, its living consciousness reaching out to connect with both the human phase shift technology and the Serenite crystals. The Pthal arrived in waves, their collective minds carrying the knowledge of their civilization as their physical forms fled the Kataskan assault. What nobody expected was the heart's reaction to Christmas. As the station's celebrations continued above, the living quantum core began to resonate with the emotions of the festivities. Joy, peace, unity, concepts that transcended species and dimensions began to influence the very fabric of spacetime around New Hawaii Station. "These patterns," Elena whispered, studying her readings. "The heart isn't just stabilizing the dimensions, it's harmonizing them. Creating bridges of emotional resonance between species that should never have been able to connect." The first sign that something extraordinary was happening came from the Christmas market. Species that had required universal translators to communicate suddenly found themselves understanding each other through what could only be described as emotional comprehension. The Pthal hive mind spontaneously joined in a chorus of Christmas carols, their collective consciousness somehow grasping the deeper meanings of peace on earth and goodwill toward all. But it was the Kataskans who provided the most surprising development. Multiple ships decloaking. The station's AI announced. Kataskan signatures, but they're broadcasting on peaceful frequencies. A transmission cut through all channels. "This is Commander Valthak of the Kataskan Liberation Front. We felt something. Through the dimensional barriers. A feeling we haven't experienced since before the Imperium's rise. We request asylum. Kai looked at the quantum core, where the heart of the void pulsed in perfect harmony with the Christmas lights above. The living technology hadn't just created new dimensional spaces, it had somehow reached across the barriers to touch minds and hearts that had been closed for millennia. The heart, Lyra explained, her tentacles creating patterns of wonder, it resonates with what you humans call the Christmas spirit. We didn't understand until now, but this is why our ancestors created it. Not just to stabilize dimensions, but to connect them through something stronger than technology. As Project Aurora came fully online, it didn't just create safe spaces for different species to coexist. It created a network of dimensional havens, each connected by bridges of shared understanding. The Kataskan Liberation Front vessels were carefully brought into a quarantine dimension, while the Pthal were given a space where their hive mind could freely expand. In the Christmas market above, species that had been mortal enemies now found themselves sharing stories and traditions. The Serenite crystals resonated with Earth Christmas carols, creating harmonic light shows that the Zintheri accompanied with their bioluminescence. Even the Pthal contributed, their collective consciousness creating patterns in the station's holographic snow that told stories of peace from 1,000 worlds. Dr. Patel, Captain Chin called. We're receiving requests from across the galaxy. Species we've never encountered, asking to join what they're calling the Dimensional Accord. Something about Project Aurora's activation has created a ripple effect through spacetime itself. Kai watched as the heart of the void continued its gentle pulse, now perfectly synchronized with the giant Christmas tree in the station's atrium. Humanity's greatest defensive technology had evolved into something far more profound, a bridge between not just dimensions, but hearts and minds across the galaxy. As Christmas Eve deepened into Christmas Day, New Hawaii Station became a nexus of something unprecedented in galactic history. The phase shift technology that had once isolated humanity now served as the foundation for a new kind of community, one where differences were celebrated rather than feared, and where the spirit of Christmas became a tangible force for change across dimensions. In his lab, Kai received one final message from the heart of the void, translated through the Zintheri consciousness: the barriers between beings are like the barriers between dimensions, real, but not insurmountable. You humans understand this in your celebration of Christmas. Now, let us build something new together. Project Aurora was no longer just a technological achievement. It had become a beacon of hope, broadcasting across dimensions the simple message that had started on Earth so many centuries ago: peace on Earth, goodwill to all beings, no matter what dimension they called home. The Dimensional Accord. Commander Valthak of the Kataskan Liberation Front stood before the Dimensional Accord Council, his ceremonial armor stripped of imperial insignias. The council chamber, a marvel of multidimensional engineering, existed simultaneously in several phase-shifted spaces, allowing representatives from all member species to attend in their most comfortable environmental conditions. The Imperium plans to use the ancient gates, Valthak announced, his translator struggling to convey the gravity in his voice. They believe they've found a way to bypass the phase shift barriers entirely. Ambassador Thrax's scales shifted to a worried gray. The gates? But they've been dormant for millions of years. The precursors sealed them for a reason. Dr. Elena Volkov, now head of Project Aurora's research division, pulled up a holographic display of the ancient gates network. Our scans show increased quantum activity across all known gate locations. The Imperium is definitely up to something. The chamber erupted in multiple languages, each species processing the threat in their own way. The Pthal swarm formed complex geometric patterns of concern, while the Zintheri's bioluminescence flickered in warning configurations. High above the council chamber, New Hawaii Station's Christmas celebrations continued. In the 3 days since Project Aurora's activation, the station had become a symbol of unprecedented cooperation. The heart of the void's emotional resonance had created connections that transcended traditional diplomatic relations. We may have a solution, announced first speaker Minera of the newly arrived Chulari. The avian species had joined the accord just hours after Aurora's activation, bringing with them knowledge from the far reaches of the galaxy. Our ancestors were custodians of the gates before the precursor collapse. We still maintain some of their records. Captain Sarah Chen, attending via hologram from the station's command center, leaned forward. What kind of records? Minera's feathers rippled in complex patterns. The gates were never meant to be weapons. They were created as bridges, ways for species to share experiences directly, without the barriers of language or culture. The precursors believed that understanding would prevent war. But something went wrong, Valthak added. Our oldest legends speak of a great catastrophe. A time when the gates began to corrupt the very fabric of space-time. Dr. Kai Patel, who had been quietly monitoring the heart of the void's reactions through his neural interface, suddenly straightened. The heart, it's responding to something. The quantum signatures, they're similar to the gate network's energy patterns. The living technology at Aurora's core had been growing more complex since its installation. Its consciousness, formed from 1,000 Zintheri minds, had been absorbing and processing information about human Christmas traditions with increasing fascination. Transfer coming through from Earth, the station's AI announced. Priority message from the Vatican archives. The holographic display shifted to show ancient manuscripts, recently discovered in a forgotten vault. The documents, written in multiple Earth languages and what appeared to be precursor script, told an astounding story. The Star of Bethlehem, Elena whispered, reading the translations. It wasn't just a star. According to these records, it was a controlled gate activation, a deliberate sign from someone or something trying to send humanity a message. The implications stunned the Council into silence. The Christmas story, one of Earth's most significant religious and cultural narratives, might have connections to the same precursor technology they were dealing with now. The heart is confirming it, Kai reported. The emotional resonance patterns we've been detecting since Aurora's activation, they're not just random effects. They're following the same protocols the gates were designed to use. We're accidentally recreating precursor technology, but with one crucial difference. The Christmas spirit, Lyra's tentacles formed patterns of revelation. The gates were meant to share pure experience, but they couldn't handle the complexity of emotion. That's what corrupted them. But Aurora, combined with the heart of the void and the Christmas celebrations. We're doing what the precursors couldn't, Elena finished. Creating emotional bridges that are stabilized by the very feelings they're transmitting. The Christmas spirit isn't just a human concept, it's a fundamental force that can unite consciousness across dimensions. But even as the Council processed this revelation, alarms blared through the station. The Kataskan Imperium had activated one of the ancient gates, and the results were catastrophic. Space-time began to warp around the gate's location, threatening to tear apart the delicate dimensional barriers that Project Aurora had established. They don't understand what they're dealing with, Valthak growled. The gates respond to intention. Their hatred and desire for conquest is corrupting the network, just like in the ancient catastrophe. Captain Chen's hologram flickered as she issued rapid commands to the station's defense systems. Can we use Aurora to counter this? Not alone, Kai replied. But maybe. Computer, display the station's Christmas celebration schedule. The AI complied, showing hundreds of events planned across multiple dimensions. Concerts, feasts, gift exchanges, storytelling sessions, all designed to share the spirit of the season across species and cultures. The gates respond to intention and emotion, Kai explained. The Imperium is pumping them full of hatred and fear. But we have something stronger. The heart of the void connected with our Christmas celebrations for a reason. It recognized something the precursors were trying to achieve, genuine connection between different forms of consciousness. You want to Christmas carol the gates into submission? Elena asked incredulously. Not exactly, Kai smiled. But every species here has embraced some aspect of the Christmas spirit, peace, joy, goodwill. The gates were designed to transmit pure experience. Let's show them what a real multidimensional Christmas feels like. The plan was audacious, perhaps insane. As the Imperium's gate activation threatened to tear reality apart, the Dimensional Accord prepared for the galaxy's biggest Christmas celebration. The heart of the void would act as a conductor, channeling the combined emotional resonance of thousands of beings celebrating across multiple dimensions. The Pthal hive mind began composing a symphony that incorporated the harmonic patterns of 1,000 carols. The Zintheri prepared a light show that would transcend normal spacetime. The Chulari contributed ancient songs that hadn't been heard since the time of the precursors. And at the center of it all, humanity shared the simple story that had started on Earth so long ago, a story of hope, peace, and the possibility that even the greatest divisions could be bridged by love. As Christmas Day approached on Earth, New Hawaii Station prepared to broadcast a message that would echo across dimensions, through the gates, and into the hearts of even their greatest enemies. The ancient gates had been built to share experience across the gulf of space and time. Now, they would share something even more powerful, the spirit of Christmas itself. The Christmas Convergence. High Admiral Zexkar of the Kataskan Imperium watched with cold satisfaction as the ancient gate pulsed with dark energy. The massive ring structure, carved from the heart of a dead star, crackled with power that hadn't been seen in millions of years. Around him, his bridge crew worked frantically to contain the growing dimensional instabilities. "My lord," his science officer reported, "the gate's quantum signature is becoming unstable. The hatred resonance drive isn't maintaining coherence." "Increase power," Zexkar commanded. "If we cannot conquer their dimension, we will tear it apart. Let's see how their phase shift technology handles a complete collapse of spacetime." But across the dimensional barriers, in the spaces humanity had carved out for peace, a different kind of power was building. In New Hawaii Station's central atrium, now expanded across multiple phase-shifted spaces, Dr. Maya Wong conducted the most unusual orchestra in galactic history. The Pthal hive mind formed the foundation, their collective consciousness weaving together melodies from 1,000 worlds. Zintheri light dancers created aurora-like patterns that synchronized with the music, while Chulari song priests added harmonies that hadn't been heard since the precursor age. Quantum resonance at 60% and climbing, Elena reported from her station near the heart of the void. The emotional wavelengths are starting to penetrate the gate network. The heart itself had evolved beyond anyone's expectations. Its living consciousness, enhanced by exposure to Christmas celebrations across multiple dimensions, had begun to understand something fundamental about the nature of reality itself. The precursors hadn't failed because their technology was flawed, they'd failed because they tried to transmit pure experience without the emotional context that gave it meaning. "Message from Earth," Captain Chen announced. "The Vatican synchronized choir is ready. All major religious and cultural centers are standing by to broadcast their Christmas celebrations." Kai monitored the quantum readings as humanity's oldest Christmas traditions began to merge with the alien celebrations. In Jerusalem, ancient prayers echoed through the gates. In Rome, bells rang out across dimensions. In Mecca, sacred verses about peace joined the universal chorus. From Tibet to Tulsa, from Sydney to Sao Paulo, humanity added its voice to the galaxy's greatest Christmas celebration. But the Imperium wasn't going down without a fight. Multiple gate activations detected, the station's AI warned. "The Imperium is trying to counter our broadcast with fear and hatred." Through the quantum viewers, they could see the Imperium's fleet gathered around each activated gate. Dark energy pulsed through the ancient networks, carrying with it millennia of accumulated hatred and fear. The Kataskan's empire had been built on conquest and domination, and they were channeling all of that negative energy into their final assault. "They don't understand," Valthak observed from his position among the Kataskan Liberation Front representatives. "They think hatred is stronger than love, fear more powerful than hope. They've forgotten what the gates were built for." In the quantum space between dimensions, two forms of energy collided. The Imperium's darkness met a wave of something they couldn't comprehend, the combined joy, hope, and love of thousands of species celebrating together. Christmas carols in a million different languages carried on quantum waves through the Gate network. Stories of peace and goodwill, each culture adding its own understanding to the human celebration, created patterns of light that began to overwhelm the darkness. The heart of the void pulsed in triumph as its consciousness expanded through the network. It had found what the precursors had been searching for, a way to unite consciousness across the barriers of space, time, and dimension. Not through cold technology or forced conformity, but through shared celebration and genuine connection. High Admiral Zexkar watched in growing horror as his weapons failed. The hatred resonance drive, designed to corrupt the gates with negative energy, couldn't maintain coherence in the face of something far more powerful. His sensors showed impossible readings, joy spreading like a quantum virus through his fleet, hope infecting his weapons systems, peace disrupting his carefully maintained patterns of control. "My lord," his science officer reported, voice trembling, "we're detecting music. Through every speaker, every neural interface, every quantum communication channel, the combined Christmas celebration of multiple civilizations poured into the Imperium's ships." The gates, restored to their original purpose, transmitted not just the sounds and images but the pure emotional experience of unity and peace. In the quantum viewers, they watched as Imperium crews began to respond. Generations of conditioning and control began to crack under the influence of something many of them had never experienced, genuine joy. Weapons officers wept at their stations as ancient memories of peace surfaced in their collective consciousness. Bridge crews joined hands, or tentacles, or energy fields, as the music touched something deep within their genetic memory. "They're receiving Earth's broadcast now," Elena reported excitedly. The complete Christmas story, translated through the heart of the void into pure emotional experience. Every species is perceiving it through their own cultural lens, but the core message remains the same. On Imperium ships across the galaxy, crews watched in wonder as their own ancient legends merged with humanity's Christmas story. The Star of Bethlehem became a precursor gate, activated to guide ancient humanity toward a greater understanding. The three wise men were revealed as representatives of long-lost alien civilizations, seeking to preserve the knowledge of peace before the great catastrophe. High Admiral Zexkar stood frozen on his bridge as the truth invaded his carefully maintained defenses. The gates had never been weapons. The precursors hadn't failed, they'd been waiting. Waiting for species to evolve beyond hatred and fear, waiting for the right combination of technology and emotion to restore their original purpose. "Sir," his communication officer called out, "we're receiving surrenders from across the fleet. The crews, they're asking to join the celebration." In New Hawaii Station's atrium, the music reached a crescendo. The Pthal hive mind synchronized perfectly with Earth's choirs. Zinthari light dancers created patterns that matched ancient precursor symbols of peace. The heart of the void pulsed with joy as it fulfilled its ancient purpose, not just maintaining dimensional barriers, but bridging them with understanding. Through the gates, through the quantum networks, through the very fabric of space-time itself, a message echoed in a million languages, understood by every consciousness that received it. Peace on Earth, and all dimensions, goodwill to all beings. The Christmas convergence, as it would come to be known, marked the beginning of a new era in galactic history. The gates, restored to their original purpose, became bridges of cultural exchange and celebration. The Imperium's fall led not to chaos but to a renaissance as long-suppressed cultures reclaimed their traditions and joined the greater galactic celebration. And at the heart of it all, in a station named after a tropical paradise on Earth, representatives of 1,000 species gathered to share their stories, their songs, and their hope for a future where the barriers between hearts and minds were as permeable as the barriers between dimensions. A new dawn. 1 year after the Christmas convergence, New Hawaii Station had transformed beyond recognition. The once military outpost now served as the central hub for what had become known as the Galactic Cultural Exchange Network. The ancient gates, restored to their original purpose, pulsed with constant activity as species from across the universe shared experiences, traditions, and celebrations. Ambassador Lyra floated through the station's expanded Christmas market, her bioluminescent tentacles creating patterns that matched the festive decorations. The market now existed in multiple phase-shifted dimensions simultaneously, allowing species from every environmental background to participate comfortably. The precursors would be proud, first speaker Minera observed, her Chulari feathers shimmering with emotion-enhanced colors. They built the gates hoping that someday, species would learn to share more than just information. In the quantum core chamber, now expanded into a vast research complex, Dr. Kai Patel and Dr. Elena Volkov worked with scientists from 100 worlds to understand the full implications of what they discovered. The heart of the void had evolved into something unprecedented, a living quantum network that could translate not just languages, but entire cultural contexts across species barriers. Another breakthrough in the Bethlehem archives, Elena announced, examining holographic data streams. We've confirmed that the precursors didn't just visit Earth randomly. They were drawn by something unique in human consciousness, the capacity to create celebrations that transcend mere ritual. The discovery had sparked a renaissance in religious and cultural studies across the galaxy. Every species had begun re-examining their ancient traditions, finding connections that had been hidden for millennia. The Star of Bethlehem was revealed as just one of many instances where the precursors had tried to guide younger civilizations toward understanding. In the station's diplomatic sector, Captain Sarah Chen met with former High Admiral Zexkar, now serving as the chief representative of the reformed Kataskan territories. The once fearsome warrior had been profoundly changed by the Christmas convergence. We thought power came from domination, Zexkar reflected, his translator conveying genuine remorse. We never understood that true strength lies in connection. Our ancient texts spoke of this, but we had forgotten how to read them correctly. The former Imperium worlds were undergoing a remarkable transformation. Centuries of suppressed cultural traditions were being rediscovered and shared through the Gate network. Species that had been enslaved for generations were reclaiming their heritage, while their former masters learned to embrace diversity rather than fear it. Message from Earth, the station's AI announced. The Vatican Tibet Mecca Unified Choir is ready to begin the anniversary celebration. This new choir, formed in the wake of the convergence, represented something unprecedented in human history, a recognition that all Earth's spiritual traditions shared common threads of peace and unity. Their music, enhanced by quantum resonance and translated through the heart of the void, had become a symbol of hope across the galaxy. In the station's massive central atrium, now a space that defied normal physics, representatives from every known spacefaring civilization gathered. The Pthal hive mind formed intricate patterns in the air, their collective consciousness expanded by regular contact with other species. Serenai crystal singers prepared to add their harmonics to Earth's music. Zinthari light dancers positioned themselves to create visual interpretations of the songs. Dr. Maya Wong raised her conductor's baton, now enhanced with quantum sensing technology. The heart of the void pulsed in anticipation, its consciousness reaching through the Gate network to touch minds and hearts across dimensions. Ready the broadcast, Captain Chen commanded. All gates synchronized. The celebration that followed transcended normal description. Through the restored Gate network, enhanced by Project Aurora's phase shift technology and stabilized by the heart of the void, the combined artistic expression of thousands of species flowed across the galaxy. Christmas carols merged with alien harmonies, creating music that could only exist in the quantum spaces between dimensions. In the former Imperium territories, billions of beings experienced something their ancestors had forgotten, the joy of freely sharing their cultural heritage. Former slave species taught their traditions to their previous masters, while former conquerors shared their own rediscovered stories of peace and harmony. The Chulari, ancient custodians of Gate knowledge, added their own long-hidden traditions to the celebration. Their songs spoke of the precursor age, when the gates were new and the galaxy was filled with hope for unity. These ancient memories, preserved in their racial consciousness, now served as a bridge between past and future. Through quantum viewers, the assembled representatives watched as their celebration reached even the furthest corners of known space. New species, previously unknown, began responding to the broadcast. The gates activated in systems that had been dormant for millions of years, adding new voices to the galactic chorus. Analysis coming in, Elena reported excitedly. The quantum resonance patterns, they're not just carrying our celebration. They're healing spacetime itself. The damage caused by centuries of gate misuse is being repaired by the combined positive energy of all these species celebrating together. The heart of the void confirmed her readings. Its consciousness, expanded by a year of processing celebrations from across the galaxy, had discovered something the precursors had theorized but never proven, that consciousness itself was a fundamental force in the universe, capable of affecting the very fabric of reality when properly focused. Thrax, his scales shifting through patterns of joy, addressed the assembled representatives. 1 year ago, I was just a merchant trying to make first contact. I never imagined that my simple Christmas greeting would lead to this. That's the true power of Christmas, Sarah responded. It's not just about the celebration itself, it's about being willing to reach out, to risk making contact, to believe that understanding is possible even across the greatest divides. As the celebration continued, news arrived from across the galaxy. Species that had been at war for millennia laid down their arms to join the songs. Ancient enemies found themselves sharing stories and traditions through the Gate network. The quantum resonance of joy and peace, amplified by thousands of civilizations celebrating together, created ripples in spacetime that would be detected for centuries to come. In her private quarters later that night, Sarah Chen received one final message. It came through the heart of the void, translated from quantum patterns so ancient they predated known civilization. To those who have learned to share joy across the barriers of space and time, you have fulfilled our greatest hope. The gates are yours now. Use them wisely, remembering always that the strongest force in any universe is not the power to destroy, but the willingness to understand. The message was signed with a symbol that took the combined efforts of 100 xenoarchaeologists to translate. When they finally decoded it, its simple message brought tears to eyes, and equivalent emotional responses to other sensory organs, across the galaxy. Peace on Earth, and everywhere else. Goodwill to all beings, in all dimensions, for all time. The Christmas miracle had become a permanent part of the galaxy's fabric. The gates, restored to their original purpose, stood ready to share not just humanity's celebrations, but the combined cultural heritage of all spacefaring species. The phase shift technology that had once isolated humanity now served as the foundation for a new kind of civilization, one where differences were celebrated, barriers were bridges, and every day brought new opportunities for understanding. And in the quantum spaces between dimensions, the heart of the void pulsed with joy, knowing that its ancient purpose had been fulfilled. The precursor's dream of a united galaxy hadn't failed, it had just been waiting for the right moment, the right combination of technology and emotion, the right celebration to bring it all together. Christmas, it turned out, had always been more than just a human holiday. It was a glimpse of what the galaxy could become when beings chose to reach out instead of pull away, to celebrate differences instead of fear them, to believe that even across the vast gulfs of space and time, understanding was possible. The new age had begun, and it started with a simple greeting, a merchant's courage, and humanity's willingness to share its most hopeful tradition with the stars themselves.